Addressing audit allegations, what the FSIN is saying about criticism around its funding. Sales soar in Saskatoon. What's behind a retail record? And celebrating acknowledging truth and reconciliation.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations is out with its side of the story. After remaining silent for weeks following an audit by the federal government, the FSIN says it disagrees with the report it's been given. Keenan Sorokon explains.
The FSIN says it categorically rejects the suggestion that millions of dollars in expenses are unaccounted for. It remains confident and optimistic Indigenous Services Canada will find that all expenditures are eligible. The FSIN has still not agreed to an interview, but sent media a 10-page release responding to each allegation it faces after Indigenous Services Canada flagged more than $34 million of spending as either ineligible, questionable, or unsupported. In the document, the FSIN says it handed over receipts and invoices for everything, but can't go through each expense because Indigenous Services has not provided them the full brief, only the summary that's available online, despite multiple requests. The FSIN alleges KPMG, who performed the audit, gave 10 days to respond to a list of over 700 questions and line items, which KPMG then took 10 weeks to review. The FSIN goes on to say KPMG did not include a number of documents and justifications FSIN provided last month before the summary report came out. The FSIN says it gave invoices and receipts for more than $23 million of COVID-19 funding that was flagged. It says funding flowed through the FSIN to each First Nation, and all spending followed funding agreements and was approved. The FSIN finished by saying it has a robust system of transparency and accountability developed over decades, and says the process followed by KPMG seems intended to set them up for failure. Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
To Saskatoon Provincial Court now, where a teen boy was sentenced for accidentally killing his best friend. CTV's Laura Woodward now on how long he'll spend in custody.
A Saskatoon teen boy who was pretending to be a gangster when he accidentally shot and killed his best friend left the courthouse in handcuffs. The 15-year-old boy, who was 13 at the time and can't be named under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death. He was handed an 18-month sentence that will be partially served in the community under supervision. The shooting happened in the 1000 block of Matheson Drive last February. Court heard the gun was obtained by his sister. According to an agreed statement of facts, the friends were drinking vodka and passing around a rifle. The kids were posing with the gun, pretending to be gangsters and posting the pictures to social media. Court heard the teen thought the safety was turned on when he shot and killed his 12-year-old friend. The judge says while she accepts it was an accident, playing with a gun under the influence of alcohol was clearly risky and harm was reasonably foreseeable. The Crown pushed for 3 years, the maximum youth sentence for this offense, but the judge sided with the defense, noting that the boy will forever live with the burden that he killed his friend. The judge ended her sentencing decision by telling the teen she hopes he can turn his life around and never wants to see him in this courthouse ever again. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
We are learning more about Saskatoon's latest homicide. Police say a 16-year-old boy was part of a fight that took place between 3 people in a parking lot in the 300 block of Confederation Drive at about 3:30 Sunday morning. The teen was taken to St. Paul's Hospital, where he died of his injuries. A 22-year-old man is charged with second-degree murder, and a 20-year-old man is charged with manslaughter in the boy's death. This is Saskatoon's 8th homicide of the year. Saskatoon police are investigating a spree of stabbings that happened over the last few days. The first happened at about noon on Monday when police were told 2 people broke into a 56-year-old man's home on Avenue V South, stabbed him and took his phone. Later that day, a 53-year-old man reported being bear sprayed and stabbed between a store on Avenue W South. Then yesterday morning at about 1:30, a 51-year-old man was attacked near 22nd Street West and Confederation Drive. A fourth incident saw a person seriously injured after being stabbed on Avenue O South at about 1 this morning. And at 3 a.m., a 21-year-old man was stabbed on Idlewild Drive North. Police have not indicated the incidents are related and are looking into each case. A man with outstanding warrants is now facing additional charges. And this is why Saskatoon police say on September 20th, the 40-year-old was pulled over at 33rd Street West and Idlewild Drive. Officers found more than 50 grams of crack cocaine, almost $700 in cash, and a prohibited gun. He is now facing 10 charges under the criminal code related to weapons and drug trafficking offenses. He's also charged with breaching his court-imposed conditions. North Battleford's fire chief says Saskatchewan fire departments are increasingly being called upon to help manage homeless encampments. The Saskatoon Fire Department has been heavily relied upon for months in trying to address the issue, but Lindsay Holm, who recently returned from the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs Conference in Winnipeg, where he represented Saskatchewan, says cities across the country are experiencing the same challenges as Saskatchewan. He says a lot of resources are being dedicated to addressing encampments.
We also had some good discussion about federal and provincial funding for our organizations, just to be able to mitigate some of the issues that we are having, because it does take a considerable amount of staff time to be able to deal with homelessness and encampments in particular.
Holmes says part of the issue is that people living in encampments need alternative options and access to safe, low-barrier places to stay. The city of Martinsville is alerting the public after a resident was bitten by a bat. In a post to Facebook, it says it was informed today that the person was bitten multiple times on the neck by the bat, which may have been trying to protect its young. It's reminding people to avoid bats and ensure their pets and children are kept safe from wildlife. It's also urging anyone who has been scratched or bitten by a bat to seek immediate medical attention. In this case, the person did receive the rabies vaccination. Last week, Warman alerted residents after a bat carrying rabies was found. Bats are typically nocturnal, so if one is flying around during the day, it's usually a sign something isn't right, and it could be sick. Well, Jeff, your forecast is taking a bit of a dip, but let's focus on today. Today was great, right?
It was great. And look, tomorrow's going to be pretty decent as well. In fact, temperatures, Chantal, are going to be remaining above seasonal for a big chunk of the next 7 days. Now, it'll be interrupted by some cool temperatures, but largely above seasonal. Anyhow, what we've got going on active weather-wise, not much. A little something sliding into northern Saskatchewan, a little something clipping parts of southeastern Saskatchewan. Otherwise, tomorrow looks like it's going to be a relatively calm day, although it could be kind of foggy, and we'll talk about that later on.
Online shopping and the closure of some major department stores have sparked questions about the future of shopping malls. But one Saskatoon mall is reporting a record year for sales. CTV's Stacey Hine has that story.
Shoppers continue to fill the hallways of Midtown Mall, despite ongoing challenges in traditional retail, and the numbers reflect that activity. Sales at Midtown are up 11% compared to last September, while foot traffic has risen by nearly 4%, with 4.3 million visitors passing through each year. The mall's general manager, Tara Ferris, says the boost is partly due to 3 new stores opening, along with several others renovating or relocating within the mall. And more retailers are on the way, including Unique Bunny, a Korean and Japanese skincare store, and Ukraine Pantry.
Anytime we welcome a new first-to-market tenant, there's always lots of excitement.
Ferris says the loss of anchor store Hudson's Bay has not had a significant impact.
I think we're holding pretty steady on our own. Certainly the Bay, had its own, customer base, and they will be missed, but we do continue to trend positively.
She says she can't comment on the future of the Hudson Bay location, but confirms plans are in the works. Some people who spoke to CTV News shared their hopes for what could replace it.
Some sort of food store, something with semi-prepared foods for people that work downtown so that they could shop for those kinds of things over lunch or quickly after work.
More stores like where you can sit inside and have like a coffee or something and like do like activities or something.
While the future of that space remains uncertain, Ferris says the mall's overall sales and visitor numbers are expected to keep climbing through the holiday season. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Minimum wage earners are getting a raise today. The province has increased the minimum wage to $15.35 an hour. That puts Saskatchewan ahead of Alberta, which now sits at $15 an hour. The province says it calculates the minimum wage using an index formula that gives equal weight to changes to the Consumer Price Index and the average hourly wage for Saskatchewan. Some business groups in the province say raising the minimum wage across the board can pose challenges.
About a third of our members say that they will cut back on hiring younger, less skilled workers in those entry-level positions. So ultimately, it does harm younger workers and those that in entry-level positions. And so we've actually been advocating for a differential wage for that kind of sector of the population. We've been asking, similar to Ontario and Alberta, they offer a youth minimum wage, and that's something that could be considered to help.
In 2007, the minimum wage was $7.95 an hour. Starting today, newborns are being offered an additional layer of protection before going home from the hospital. Respiratory syncytial virus, also known as RSV, is one of the most common reasons babies are hospitalized during the winter months, often causing bronchitis or pneumonia. Saskatchewan begins the rollout of this new immunization program today. It ensures that all parents can protect their newborns from serious lung infections caused by RSV. The antibody shot is now offered at 17 locations where babies are born in Saskatchewan. It will last into March, which is the peak RSV season. It's being viewed as an important step towards seeing fewer babies in hospital during these months.
It's highly effective at preventing severe RSV. So what we've seen in clinical studies and in real-world data is that the risk of severe RSV and hospitalization after nirsevimab goes down by about 90%. And that's over many studies.
Health officials say with so many remote areas in Saskatchewan and having babies transported long distances for care, the immunization program will help to free up beds in hospital. A Regina medical clinic designed to keep patients out of emergency rooms is closing its doors next month. It opened in 2018 with extended hours and a multidisciplinary team of healthcare professionals. But as Wayne Mantika tells us, its inability to recruit doctors is forcing the clinic to cease operations.
The Gardens Community Health Centre was the first of its kind in Saskatchewan. Through a partnership with the SHA, the clinic offered a more comprehensive suite of services than a traditional physician's clinic. Now, 7 years after opening, a sign in the window says the clinic will cease operation at the end of November. The NDP estimate that 5,000 patients will be left without a family physician.
Now, the Sask Party has a choice here today. They can step up and do the right thing and do everything in their power to keep this clinic open in 2 months' time. Or they can continue to fail Saskatchewan people.
During the 2018 clinic opening ceremony, the government said it would budget $4.3 million in the first year to support the clinic and a seniors house call team. $3 million would be allocated in subsequent years through the SHA partnership. 30 positions would be created.
There are 5,000 patients that we have heard at this clinic who are losing their family doctor. That is adding on to the 200,000 people in this province who don't currently have a family doctor. And that means that people are going to now end up in urgent care centers. They're going to end up at emergency rooms.
The SHA says programs it offered in conjunction with the clinic will continue from a yet-to-be-determined location. 3 staff are being retained. The Seniors House Call program was relocated and renamed during the pandemic. The clinic declined further comment. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
People across the country came together for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation yesterday. In Saskatoon, many took the opportunity to highlight the importance of keeping Indigenous culture alive for future generations. Hallie Mandrick has more from Wanuskewin Heritage Park.
In a packed room at Wanuskewin Heritage Park, people took the time to hear the stories of Indigenous people and listen to languages that at one time were not allowed to be spoken.
If they disappeared, and it's like our people will forget. We don't want people to forget the atrocities, the hurts, the pain, the suffering that happened in those schools, and also those that never made it back that were found in unmarked graves.
The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, also known as Orange Shirt Day, is dedicated to acknowledging the harm done towards Indigenous people. Residential schools took Indigenous children away from their families with the intention of completely erasing Indigenous culture. Many of those who attended the schools also suffered abuse, which continues to affect countless people through generational trauma.
So my mother went to residential school. She lost her voice. She lost her culture. She lost who she was as a proud Cree woman from Muskeg Lake Cree Nation.
As one of the many teachings offered at Wanuskewin throughout the day, Gen 7 Path shared a series of songs and spoken words intended to pass on knowledge to the next generation.
Otherwise, we will lose our language, we'll lose our cultures, we'll lose everything associated with the Indigenous. And our job is to learn, so the non-Indigenous to understand what happened at residential schools and really heal as one nation.
Oasis says the importance of the day is rooted in keeping Indigenous culture and language alive on the very land it originates from.
Germans can go back to Germany, can learn their culture. English can go back to England. You know, the Chinese go back to China. That's their homelands. Here, once it dies, our languages, our culture, our songs, our dances, our ceremonies, then there's no place to go. This is it.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Indigenous dancers from across Canada and the U.S. gathered at Saskatchewan's largest Reconciliation Day Pow-Wow in Saskatoon. About 800 dancers took the stage for the Saskatoon Tribal Council's Every Child Matters Pow-Wow in honor of reconciliation. Jerry Cleland came from Detroit, Michigan to dance. Cleland is Chippewa from the Saginaw, Swan Creek and Black River Band. He says it's interesting to see different styles of dance north of the border and share his culture at the powwow.
We don't have the reconciliation in the States right now, so you know, Canada's doing an excellent job. This is where we learn about who we are. You know, like I say, we're all sharing with each other as Native people. We're sharing who we are.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe was in attendance, walking alongside Saskatoon Tribal Chief Mark Arcand, who says seeing Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people come together is a key part of reconciliation. Still to come, a deadly shooting at a popular coffee spot in Quebec. Also, the AI creation coming under fire. You're watching CTV News Live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us. One person has died, 2 others were injured in a shooting in Laval, Quebec today. It happened at a Starbucks where police say there is no longer a security risk. But people are being asked to avoid the area as officers are investigating. The 2 people who were wounded did not suffer life-threatening injuries. The province's public security minister says the shooting appears to be organized crime linked. There have been no arrests so far. The U.S. government has shut down. Republicans who control all levels of the federal government couldn't get the votes needed to pass their budget. Democrats held firm to their demands to salvage health care subsidies. That means hundreds of thousands of people are being forced to work with no pay. As many as 750,000 federal workers could be laid off or fired. Rescue crews are racing against time to try and find survivors of a deadly earthquake in the central Philippines. This woman says the quake was the strongest she has ever felt and has left her shaking with fear. The shallow magnitude 6.9 quake collapsed houses and damaged buildings, killing at least 69 people and injuring more than 200 others. The Philippine government is considering whether it will seek help from foreign governments. Hollywood is not rolling out the red carpet for an actress who is completely generated by artificial intelligence. The actress, known as Tilly Norwood, is the creation of Dutch actress and comedian Eileen van der Velden. Norwood has been condemned by Hollywood's Actors Union, as well as stars like Emily Blunt and Whoopi Goldberg. Van der Velden says her creation is not a replacement for a real person and should be considered a piece of art.
Nielsen here from Saskatoon, inviting you to my album release party at the Basement, Friday, October the 3rd. Tickets are on sale now at thebasement.ca and rossnielsen.com. The album is called With Intention, recorded in Memphis, Tennessee last January. Had a lot of support financially from the community and excited to give it back. Got a great band, horn section and all. Hope to see you Friday, October the 3rd at the Basement. Hey Jeff, what's the weather going to be like anyway?
Well, a nice little riff to end things up there. We can tell you that the weather is going to be actually pretty good for your show, but let's take a look at the numbers exactly. We're expecting 8:30 start Friday show, but daytime high around 21 degrees. So by the time we get to showtime, temperature's probably around 16 degrees, maybe a little warmer than that. And as Ross is mentioning, thebasement.ca is where you can get tickets to the show and the album launch. All right, let's take a look at our numbers, starting off with our current temperatures. In Saskatoon, it is 19 degrees, 16 in the Prince Albert, 14 in the Battlefords. And as you can see, the winds have backed off a little bit. Still kind of breezy, but not big time as it was earlier today. On to our almanac. Saskatoon's high, 21 degrees, so still 6 degrees above seasonal, but 10 degrees below the record temperature, which was set in 1957. The record cold temperature, ouch, minus 13 in 1936. The sun came up at 7:07, and it's going to go down in about 20 minutes.
Coming up, remembering a scientist whose love for primates impacted science, the life and legacy of Jane Goodall.
Trying to get back in the win column. Thursday on Your Morning, we're getting Grey Cup champion Wes Cates' thoughts ahead of their tilt, the Riders against Ottawa this weekend.
Okay, now let's take a look through the live lens of Skycam and some thin cloud out there. It's been a windy day, but winds have started to back off, but warmer than seasonal yet again. We are going to see a bit of a downturn, but it's not going to be long-lived or long-lived, depending on who you talk to. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar shot here. Really not a lot of active weather across the Prairie provinces. A little something in Alberta and bits and pieces in parts of Saskatchewan, a little bit of Manitoba. British Columbia, different story. They are going to be seeing a lot more in the way of precipitation. A bit of a break and then more precipitation, so that's how things are shaping up for BC. Currently in Saskatoon, it is 19 degrees, 16 in Prince Albert, 14 in the Battlefords, still kind of breezy, 21 for a high, 15 is typical, 31 in the record, did not break it. On to our hotspot, that was Estevan. Hudson Bay came ever so close, but Estevan is the provincial hotspot, 26 degrees. Rock Glen, 3 degrees. That is the cold spot in our province for this day. 13 degrees in Lloydminster right now, 19 in Swift Current, 22 in Moose Jaw and Estevan, 21 in Regina and Yorkton. In central parts of the province, as you can see, temperatures ranging from 13 degrees in Meadow Lake up to 22. That's in Hudson Bay. Sort of a line of 20s from Kindersley, Rosetown, Watrous, and Wynyard. And look at Waskesiu, 14, the same for the Battlefords and Spiritwood, so it's not so cold out there. Single-digit temperatures in Stony Rapids at 9 degrees, but it does warm up to 15 in La Ronge. And look at that, Sandy Bay Island Falls sitting at 23 big degrees right now. That's where we're at for Carlisle, Weyburn, Assiniboine, and Coronach as well. And then we cool off to 18 in East End and area. Maybe they had a little bit of that shower activity, but otherwise everyone at 20 or above. And now on to our future cast. So not a lot to tell you in terms of active weather because there's not much active weather, and furthermore, the winds aren't going to be a big deal. You can see the pressure lines not very close together, so a relatively calm day. One of the reasons why we might see some fog overnight. No wind to break it up. So overnight, or rather tomorrow, we're looking at cloudy or mainly cloudy skies for northern Saskatchewan. Double-digit temperatures just for Key Lake and Stony Rapids, 14 for Buffalo Narrows and La Ronge. 16 degrees for Meadow Lake and Spiritwood on Thursday. 21 for Kindersley and Rosetown, mainly cloudy conditions there. Mainly cloudy and temperatures of around 22 degrees in the southwest. In the southeast, temperatures are a little warmer, getting up to 26 under mainly sunny skies in Estevan. In fact, mainly sunny conditions throughout the region. Mainly sunny in Hudson Bay and Watrous. 21 for Watrous, 19 for Hudson Bay. The same for Humboldt temperature-wise, and 18 in Melfort on Thursday. The Battlefords are dropping down to 6 degrees tonight with some fog patches showing up, some morning fog hanging around and then dissipates. 18 for a high tomorrow under cloudy skies, 20 on Friday, 14 on Saturday, seasonal, and then less than seasonal on Sunday, but bouncing back by the time we get to Tuesday, above seasonal, and 1 week from today, 21 degrees. Not bad. Mainly clear skies with fog patches for Prince Albert, 8 degrees. 18 tomorrow. That's still above seasonal for this time of early October. 20 degrees on Friday, 16 on Saturday. A cool 9 degrees on Sunday and Monday, bouncing back on Tuesday, and 1 week from today, 21 degrees under mainly sunny skies. So, clear skies, or at least less cloudy conditions and less windy, but some fog patches are expected to show up in Saskatoon. So 19 tomorrow, some morning fog, winds out of the southwest at 10, so a warm southerly flow in that respect. 21 degrees on Friday, 16 on Saturday, cooling off on Sunday to 9, 12 degrees on Monday, 15 on Tuesday, and Wednesday, 22 degrees.
To use a bug.
The Simpsons are coming back to the big screen. 20th Century Fox has announced a second Simpsons movie is coming our way in a little less than 2 years. Its release date will be 20 years after the first one. What? 20 years? Oh, man. Well, they've shared a teaser poster simply saying Homer's coming back for seconds. The movie, doesn't have an official title yet, is slated to arrive July 23rd, 2027. It's official. Another showbiz split to tell you about. Nicole Kidman has filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage. Kidman petitioned in court in Nashville to end her marriage to the Grammy Award-winning singer. The filings include a marriage dissolution and child care plan. It asks that Kidman be the primary residential parent to the couple's 2 teenage daughters. The filing also states that neither side will get child care or spousal support. Both stars will keep all the assets in their own name, including copyrights and royalties for their work. Sounds?
Hi, and welcome to Reading Rainbow.
Beloved children's show Reading Rainbow is back after a nearly 20-year absence. Librarian and literacy advocate Michael Threets will host the show, stepping into the role originally held by LeVar Burton. Kunta Kinte, Adam Devine, John Legend, and Chrissy Teigen are all set to make appearances. The first 4 episodes will be released on Saturday morning on the Kidzooka YouTube channel, with future episodes airing on subsequent weekends.
All right, Jeff, the Saskatoon Jazz Orchestra is getting ready for the season.
Yeah, it's a big 13th anniversary. Beyond Cool. That is the title of the Saskatoon Jazz Orchestra's first performance of its brand new season right here at the Broadway Theatre on Saturday evening. Artistic Director Dean McNeil with us today. So, first of all, Beyond Cool, what are we talking about?
So we took that name, cool and cool jazz, kind of from the West Coast 1950s style of jazz music. Jerry Mulligan was a very famous and important baritone saxophonist and composer, and we're playing a lot of his music. Fred Stride has curated a whole concert of his music, and we're bringing in Sharon Thibedege, who is the professor of jazz at the University of Toronto, to play Jerry Mulligan's parts. So it's like a 1950s, 60s kind of cool jazz for big band.
And for people who don't know, your orchestra is a big band.
Yes, it is. 20 people usually. And so it's a big band, big sound. And this is our 13th season at the Broadway Theatre. And the size of the theatre is really great for an ensemble this size, high ceilings and rake floor and stuff. So it's great. It's a perfect place for us. And for this kind of music, it'll be a great fit.
It is a great fit. It's a beautiful venue. And for people to get their tickets, what's the best way to do that?
Go to SaskatoonJazzOrchestra.com. There's a description of the event, and that'll link you right to where you get tickets online, or you could buy tickets at the door.
All right, sounds great. That's this Saturday, 7:30, the Broadway Theatre, the Saskatoon Jazz Orchestra, Beyond Cool.
All right, Jeff, time for pick of the day. What do you have?
Well, we have 4 pictures today.
4.
I know. All right, I'll go through them quickly here. This one's from Whitney. She said, hi there. I captured this photo on September 27th at 1852, 6:52 for many of us, in Archewell at Echo Lake Hunts Farm. The sky was incredible, and we couldn't stop looking. I can understand why. That is beautiful. So thank you, Whitney. From Carol, last Thursday, 8 in the morning, Memorial Lake. What a beautiful time to kayak with the loons in the misty morning sun. We'll see how many more kayaking days are left in this month. From Denise, hello, fall sunset on the farm south of Langham. That's another great shot. And finally, from Linda and Kevin, a.k.a. Grandma and Grandpa, happy 16th birthday, Drake, from Grandma and Grandpa and the family. So there you go. So happy birthday wishes from us as well, Drake. Have a great time on your 16th birthday. And if you'd like a chance to send us an image, you can do that by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca.
Well, still to come on CTV News, a woman whose passion for primates led to major discoveries. A look at the impact Jane Goodall is leaving on the world.
Your morning just got a little brighter. Start your day with CTV Your Morning, and you could win $20,000. For your chance to win, watch CTV Your Morning Saskatchewan, weekday mornings 6 to 9.
One of the world's most prominent scientists, Jane Goodall, died today of natural causes at the age of 91 in California. Her love of wildlife and research fueled a lifelong passion for chimpanzees and the environment, even inspiring the Jane Goodall Institute of Canada. Here is CTV's Andrew Johnson with a look back at the life of a conservationist who spoke up for animals.
When a young British woman with a childhood love of primates but little scientific training traveled to Tanzania in 1960, she changed the way we look at chimpanzees.
When I got to Cambridge finally, they were totally horrified. I'd named the chimps instead of numbering them. I talked about them having personalities. I talked about them having minds and being able to have rational thoughts and emotions, happiness, sadness, fear. And all of these things were supposed to be attributes only of humans.
Jane Goodall also found the chimps, like humans, used tools. She incorporated their distinct personalities and family relationships into her work.
Being out in the wild, you know, back when I dreamed of it, there was nobody doing anything like that.
Goodall considered it her lifelong quest to protect the planet.
We've got a window of time, I believe, to start slowing down climate change, loss of biodiversity, to alleviate poverty, to bring to an end the terrible industrial farming, especially of animals, to try and persuade the very wealthy to be a little more considerate of the future.
Goodall married twice and had one son. In 2003, she was appointed a Dame of the British Empire, and she received the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2025.
I want to be remembered for having helped people to understand the true nature of animals, that they do matter as individuals.
Well into old age, Goodall was on the road hundreds of days a year, speaking up for animals and the environment, trying to empower people to do their bit, as she called it, believing millions of people making small changes can make a huge difference. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
When we come back, a popular home improvement store could make its comeback. And later, when boy bands meet improv.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at our rural forecast. And as you can see, temperatures look like they are going to remain above seasonal yet again, and even getting to the low 20s for some places. Some places, okay, a little cooler there. Meadow Lake and Spiritwood, 16 degrees. We're expecting 19 in Hudson Bay, but 20 in Wynyard, 22 in Outlook. So things are pretty warm in that respect. Do they stay warm down south? They sure do. In fact, everyone on this part of our map at 20 degrees or warmer. It gets up to 26 in Coronach, a number of other communities at 24 24 degrees, so another warm day in the land of living skies. Does that include Delisle? Of course it does. Mainly sunny skies, 21 degrees tomorrow. Winds out of the west at 10, so all in all, a pretty nice Thursday shaping up in Delisle and other places, but Delisle is where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from Saskatoon.
Welcome to another edition of X's and O's with West Cape. It's an important stretch for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're 2 games up on Calgary for first in the West Division. They've got Ottawa and Toronto next, the 2 lowest teams as far as records are concerned. So they got to win these 2 and put themselves in good position. But they haven't been playing well, West, the last couple of games. So let's look at it. They've got Ottawa coming up here in Ottawa. Drew Brown will probably be quarterback, and if you go all the way back to week 1, he threw for over 400 yards against the Riders, and they keep being susceptible to those deep plays. Another game against Edmonton where they gave up at least 3 plus 30-yard passes.
Yeah, Lee, and just the way, like you mentioned it, the way the Riders have been playing has not been impressive. They get off to slow starts. They've had turnovers. They haven't really been able to finish. They actually did a good job of really trying to finish against Edmonton last week, but it was too little too late. I mean, you're down a couple scores and you battle back and give yourself a chance at the end, and then you have another mess up and don't really complete the 2-point play because of player error, not really because of any great play that the opposition made. So when you take that into effect, luckily we're going into what you would call a weaker part of the schedule with Ottawa and Toronto coming up. But the way the league has been going right now, I wouldn't take any matchup as an automatic win. I mean, obviously Ottawa being at the bottom of the league, they better win. I mean, They got to get it together, the Riders do. I think they've been talking a little too much talking, not enough action out of the Riders right now. It's getting a little frustrating, I'm sure, for the fans, but for me as a former player watching, I'm like, what gives? Something's got to give. They've got to get off to better starts.
Yeah. And it's funny that we're talking about a 10-4 team like this, but this is the way it is when you lose 2 games like this, when you should be up right now and Calgary's losing and you have a chance to expand your lead. Offensively, I'm getting concerned about Trevor Harris. There's just something about his game right now where it's off. He was overthrows, interceptions. What's your concern level right now?
I mean, I know mentally he's there. I know he sees the field fine, but I think he's a little hesitant. Maybe his body's talking to him. Maybe he's losing some strength. I don't know how his in-season workout is, but he looked like he just didn't have much on the balls that he threw. I remember distinctly the one in route to a Joe that he pretty much just threw at his feet when he was wide open. And then a couple of those just kind of lofting it over the middle. That's never the type. If you're throwing in the middle in traffic, Lee, you got to be zipping that ball in there. And he kind of just lofted a couple in the middle, and that's easy to tip or make one-handed catches with as a defender when you're just tossing it over the middle and not really, really trying to zip it in there and put it on the receiver. So just his decision-making and giving the ball or putting the ball in harm's way hasn't been great. But like I said, he's still accurate, still understands concepts. And I feel like maybe he's just going through a little lull in the season. And hopefully he'll just pick it up just physically, because I know it's not a mental thing. I just think he's not putting it all together right now.
Okay, we'll see if he can do things against Ottawa. Final question I got to ask you. I'm in a position now, even though there were 2 50-plus yard field goals, I'm in a position where let's give Campbell Fair a chance. You have him on your practice roster. Let's see if he can kick. What are your thoughts on Brett Lothar right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly doesn't have much confidence right now. I mean, obviously he's got a leg, but and he's got the power to get it there. And I'm just wondering why the coaches are really putting him in these positions, right? If you got a kicker who's struggling, you really don't want to trot him out there for anything more than maybe a 45-yarder. Those 50-yarders, when you've got a chance, maybe you just punt and pin them deep, or you go for it. But to put a kicker who's struggling in those situations, I mean, I'm sure if they ask, he's probably saying, yeah, I'll go make it. But as a coach right now, coaching staff, you got to be a little leery of making that decision and not really put him in that situation. And the Riders D kind of giving up long points, but not really, or long plays, but not really a lot of points. I mean, you still have to kind of play into the turnover factor there, but these quarterbacks understand that a lot of times it's going to be zone, or they're going to get a favorable one-on-one matchup, and I think a lot of offensive coordinators are keying in on that with this Riders defense.
All right, well, in Ottawa this week, they've got to win this one. Ottawa with a record of 4-10, the reverse of the Riders. You got to take care of your chances and try to stay up 2 on Calgary. So we'll analyze that game. Plus, we'll get you prepared for their next home game against the Toronto Argonauts next week on another edition of X's and O's.
The Rafferty Dam near Estevan is receiving $15 million in infrastructure upgrades. The main focus is repairing the drainage system near the spillway, which will improve functionality during high flow times, costing $10 million. $2.5 million will be used to improve the diversion channel from Boundary Dam, which will help maximize water capture rather than the water flowing into the Souris River. Another $2.5 million was provided to the RM of Estevan to narrow Rafferty Road, which was initially built wider for construction of the dam, but it's costly to maintain.
The dam has been around for about 30 years, and so with any major infrastructure, upgrades need to happen to make sure it's safe. And so we recognized after the 2011 flood that some improvements needed to be done, and so that's why, as I said, about 5 years ago, we put in a plan to study the rehab of all of our major structures, and this being one of them.
Construction should finish this fall, and it's expected to be ready for spring. There's new hope for Peavey Mart to make a comeback in Saskatchewan as new ownership prepares to reopen several stores in Alberta. The rebooted version of the company says it's confident in the relaunch of its initial 4 stores and is now looking to target openings in other former Prairie locations, including those in Saskatchewan. At this point, the company wants to reopen 7 to 12 stores as a second group of investors is on board, but there's no set timeline. Turning to local gas prices now, the average price in Saskatoon currently just under $1.33 a litre. The lowest price in town, $1.24.9. On Saskatchewan markets, Cameco finished the day at $1.1641. Nutrien dropped $2.78. Coming up, the comedy collaboration that mixes music and laughs. Then the skill needed to solve this game combination.
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV. Well, the golden era of boy bands might be over, but there could be hope for a middle-aged boy band, right? Middle-Aged Boy Band is a musical parody and comedy show featuring a boy band that never was. These middle-aged musicians decide to hit the road and chase the dreams of their youth. The comedy department was co-founded by Denise Jones, a graduate of the University of Saskatchewan's Fine Arts program. Jones describes the show as a Whose Line Is It Anyway meets the Backstreet Boys. The group takes the stage at the Broadway Theatre Friday night at 8 o'clock. So, an interesting mix.
Yes, it'll be a fun show.
Yeah.
And Denise, by the way, is also a alumnus of the Saskatoon Subs.
There you go. Yeah. Lots of practice, lots of experience there.
Yes, yes, indeed. Well, the comedy department, I believe, is her company, co-founded it. So
there you go. All right, should be a good show.
It'll be a great show.
Well, a recent matchup put both chess and Rubik's Cube skills to the test. The inventor of the Rubik's Cube, Erno Rubik, along with a Hungarian chess grandmaster, launched the first Rubik's chess tournament. Here's how it works. Teams of 2 face off with one player handling the chess game and the other solving the cube. At 3 random times, a gong interrupts the match and players race to solve the Rubik's Cube. The player that finishes the fastest gives their chess partner a crucial time advantage. I think that would be incredibly hard.
Wow. The Queen's Gambit gone wrong. It's like, if I was involved in something like this, I'd just give up just right on the spot there. Yeah, we're done.
I took my Rubik's Cube apart when I was a kid.
And you couldn't put it back together again?
Could not, no. I think
Funny
it's laying
that.
in pieces somewhere.
Hey, I just wanted to say, sometimes when people send us in pictures and we like them, sometimes they're too small. And Kathy from Herschel, a great shot of harvest time and out there in the Herschel area. So if you got a larger picture or a clearer picture, please send it back in there because it looked very nice. Yeah.
They all look very nice.
They
we appreciate all of them.
We really do, really do. And there's so many of them. It's tough to choose. So just want to let you know that we go through them all. So once again, tomorrow is going to be a nice day, and so enjoy.
Yeah, it's Sunday we have to worry about.
Maybe.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.